Hi there, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker at Lynn Realty, a brokerage serving generations of clients in the greater Houston area and from around the world since 1981. It is a beautiful fall day here in the Houston area. Finally, I am not sweating while shooting an outdoor video. You can find me on HAR.com, that stands for Homes and Rentals, as Yao Tam. You are watching my weekly Wednesday video series, Smarter Real Estate, and I find myself today in the River Oaks shopping area where I'm shooting a video, again in one take and not edited. I'll give you practical strategies to make you a smarter seller, buyer, tenant, or landlord, and take you on some of my real estate adventures. So today we are talking about some of the common mistakes that sellers make that you can avoid as a seller. And buyers can learn some things from this as well. So I am getting some of these tips from the Texas Association of Realtors magazine, Texas Realtor. So I do want to give credit where credit is due. 4 things that I want to touch on today. So first of all is setting a price without market data. Second, limiting access to your home for showings. Third, ignoring easy improvements when you try to sell your home. And fourth, using poor pictures online. All right, let me talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. So first of all, when you're setting the price of your home without market data, as in without a realtor who is able to access the MLS, the multiple listing service, and perform a comparative market analysis, or CMA, for you to help you determine the right price. If you're doing it on your own, like a for sale by owner, without that type of data, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. We all want to price the home at the highest possible. We want to get the most money for your home, but the problem is if you overprice, then you run into a couple of different scenarios. One is a buyer is not even going to find your home when they do a home search, right? Let's say your home, the right price for your home is just under $300,000. But you decide to price it just over $300,000. Well, a buyer performing a search and setting search parameters and capping the price at $300,000, well, your home isn't even going to show up in their search results. So that's the first problem. And also, some buyers, even if they do see your home in their search results, may just think that your home is overpriced. They don't even want to come see it because they don't want to waste their time in case you're not willing to negotiate. You may think that I'm going to price it higher, so that way when a buyer comes and makes an offer, they may want to lowball and then we can negotiate from there. But when you don't even get the showing or the person attempting to make the offer, then you don't even get to that step. And so what happens is then you'll end up having to lower the price of the home anyway, and the home will sit on the market longer. It'll make the home look like there's something wrong with it, and that's not good because ultimately you're going to end up selling the home for even lower than what the original right price would have been had you started with that right price when you listed the home in the first place. All right, the second thing we talked about was limiting access to the home. So obviously there are inconveniences when you sell your home. You're going to have the home show ready. So neat, clean, clutter-free, looking presentable, keeping some of your personal items, away from view, like photographs of yourselves, because, you don't want people to see who lives there. They're trying to buy the home, not the people who live there. And also, keeping the dirty dishes out of the sink, things like that. So we understand as listing agents and brokers, and of course I'm the buyer's agent as well. I represent all different types of clients. There are inconveniences to this, okay? But what you want is for short-term pain to lead to long-term gain. And so just for that short term, if you keep your home looking nice and tidy all the time and ready for showings, don't decline any showings, let people come to see when they want to come to see it, as long as it's within a reasonable time, for example, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., then let them come, okay? Because the more showings you get, the more chances of receiving an offer. Most homes statistically are sold in the first 2 weeks when they're on the market. Okay, that buyer just comes along. If it isn't, when I say that, I don't mean that's the total days on market. I just mean that your best chances of getting a buyer is that time. So if you miss out on that chance, then chances are your home will sit on the market for potentially several more weeks or even months or longer, and you don't want that. So instead of having the mindset of, oh gosh, this showing is kind of at an inconvenient time because I want to be home, I want to be cooking, or I want to do whatever and I don't feel like stepping out to allow the showing, or I really don't feel like making the bed today. You know what? Just go through that short-term pain because you'll have that long-term gain much faster. Otherwise, you're going to draw it out into long-term pain, and then that'll even be worse in the end, right? Okay? And so sometimes when a buyer makes a last-minute showing request, just allow it, see if you can make it happen. There are, of course, extenuating circumstances, but I'm just talking about in general. So, for example, as a buyer's agent taking buyers around looking at properties, I've encountered this as a buyer's agent and also as the listing agent representing the seller, where I'm talking to a buyer's agent who is dealing with this situation right now that I'm about to outline for you. So, you're taking a buyer along looking at properties, and perhaps you happen to pass by a property with a sign for sale outside the property. And it's not a home that the realtor or maybe even the buyer was originally looking at online and considering, but all of a sudden something draws the buyer to that home in that area. And so the buyer wants to see that home. And so the realtor has to try to make that appointment on the spot and say, can I show this right now? And so it may not be the most convenient. You may be inside in the shower, but you know what? Just try to wrap up your shower, when you get out, and then just try to step out, get into your car or take a stroll down the block, and let that buyer come in and see your home, because that could be the ultimate buyer for your home. So you don't want to miss out on that person. Okay, the third thing about ignoring easy improvements I mentioned is this. So, there may be a number of random repairs that you've just been putting off and you don't want to handle in your home, or things that you don't really care about, right? Faucets dripping, toilets running, squeaky door, maybe some scuff marks on the walls that could use some touch-up paint. And so you've just been putting that off, or perhaps mulch is needed out in the front yard because it's washed away in all the rains. Maybe there's some dead bushes that need to be removed, et cetera, et cetera. Well, all those things add up in terms of, in the buyer's mind, whether they're going to like or dislike that home. For you, it's just a matter of spending a weekend or even a week going out there or hiring someone, not too much of a cost involved, and just get those things done so that your home can look good, okay, and presentable. Because otherwise the buyer is going to come in and see all these little issues, and then not only is that going to bother them and make them think, gosh, I've got to take care of this after closing, or convince the seller to take care of them before closing, or maybe the seller actually has a lot of deferred maintenance that are bigger issues that we cannot see. For example, the seller may not be changing their AC filter out regularly, so they're going to cause extra wear and tear on their AC system, and therefore an earlier breakdown of that system, which is a much more costly issue than just a dripping faucet, right? So don't let a buyer think that. Make your home look very presentable, like you've really taken good care of it, so that way buyers don't think that you've done otherwise. And the final thing is using poor photos online. So most buyers, when they're searching for a home, and actually most tenants, they look at the photos and determine whether they want to see the home, okay, solely based on the photos. And of course, the price and the basic criteria that they use to search for the home, like how many bedrooms and baths and the neighborhood and the location, for example. But they're not even necessarily reading the captions or reading the description in detail. Some of them do, but they're going to look at the photos at least first before they even try to read into all those other details, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. If they see those photos and they like the home based on that, then that is what's going to draw them into the listing in more detail, to want to learn more and then ultimately go see the property. So you want to make sure that when you list your home, you are using a professional photographer, unless you are yourself. Because some people think, I'm just going to go in with my iPhone and snap some photos, it looks pretty good, but you don't realize some of the basic photography rules that you are not aware of if you're not professionally trained. And then also you're making the home either look worse than it is or too good to be true, where people can really see through it. Like certain colors are distorted, using extremely wide angle lenses where it's not necessary, and making a room look super wide, but it actually can cause distortion in other aspects of the photo, and then actually make it look even worse. And you don't want to be misleading, because when a buyer shows up at your home and they're like, wow, this home is much smaller and more cramped than the photos showed, well, that's really going to lead them to have some questions and suspicions, about other things in the home. Are there other things that are misrepresented? So you don't want to start off on that foot. You just want to be honest. And I can tell you that I use a professional photographer for my listing photos, and they show the home in the best light that home can be shown in, but an accurate light. lit. So making sure that all the rooms are well lit, and no pun intended there, and you know, showcasing all of the things in detail, crisp, nice colors, and things like that. But it is an accurate representation of what the home really looks like. All right, if you guys have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me either on Facebook or YouTube. I hope you will like this video and follow me wherever you're watching. And feel free to message me also to provide me with another idea for a future video so that I can, you know, tailor videos to what you're interested in seeing. I really appreciate the feedback that you've given me so far, and I hope these videos have been helpful. And I will see you again in a future Weekly Wednesday video in my Smarter Real Estate video series. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week.